Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name is Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. That's our webpage. From our webpage, you can enter into many places to listen to our podcast, including Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podchaser, and more. How are you today? It is the last Wednesday of August 2026. My, how the time flies. It has been so wet in this country that when I mow, it just comes out in clumps. It just sticks to the inside of the mower and then just spits out all these clumps. It's been terrible. The grass is full of water. Even when I wait until later in the afternoon to mow, the inside of the leaves are just pure water. We've had a lot of rain this year. I know a lot of the western United States is very dry and has had terrible, terrible fires, but that's not the case here. We almost have too much, but the rivers aren't overflowing. My pond is full, and it's really nice. Everything's just green as can be. Usually by this time of year, we've gone through a hot, dry spell, and we've had hot spells, but they're hot, wet spells, which means the humidity is quite high. It's hard to mow. If you go more than about 4 or 5 days, it just clumps everywhere. And everybody's having this problem. I thought it was just me. So I started paying attention out there. You know, out in the country, everybody's yard's about as big as mine, and they're just clumps everywhere. Well, I'm not going to mow every other day, although I probably should. Anyway, we've been through drought before, and we've been through too much water before, and I like it when it's just right. Just enough rain to keep everything green. Drought around here is terrible. My pond one year looked like a puddle. It really did. I was out where the water usually is, mowing weeds that were coming up. So we don't have that problem and haven't in many years. Enough about that. The weather's going to do what the weather is going to do. My childhood home, where I grew up, that little town in north central Colorado Rocky Mountains, 8,000 feet above sea level, right by ski country everywhere, ski areas, right by the national park. Well, my folks built the basement to our house first, and we lived in that basement for years before the folks got enough money to build upstairs. And we had one bathroom. And there were 3 of us boys, and I do believe my sister Janice was born while we still lived in the basement also. So there were 4 of us. If I remember right, us boys had one bedroom. Mom and Dad and Janice, of course she was a baby, they were very young, had the other bedroom. One bathroom. It was a tub-shower combination, but I do not remember ever taking a shower until I was in PE class in 7th grade. All I always remember are baths. During the summer, Mom would make you take off your clothes, check you out for ticks, throw you in the tub. There's at least 2 or 3 of us in the tub, and one of us would always blame the others for peeing in the tub. You know what I mean? That was terrible. Who knows if we ever did? We lived in that basement for so many years, and what I remember the very most about the basement, 3 things, really. The walls were painted green. We had on the walls fish, like one big fish followed by 3 little fish. They were kind of made out of a heavy-duty wire. I've got a couple of those here at the house. I think they're in my office closet now. My wife got tired of looking at them or something. And the last thing was the doors were solid wood, not this hollow core door stuff. The reason I can remember this mostly is because one time I made my brother John so mad. He got so angry. Me and a buddy of mine must have teased him beyond what we should have. And he took a baseball bat, and we locked ourselves in the bathroom, and he beat on that door for a very long time. It seemed like hours. It was probably 5 minutes. Anyway, it did not break the door, although it did scar it. It did, and I'm sure I'm the one that got in trouble for it, and rightfully so. First house Kim and I ever bought, it had one bathroom. No garage because we turned the garage into 2 bedrooms and a laundry room. So there was one bathroom, no dishwasher. We made the garage 2 bedrooms, so we took out the 1 bedroom and made it a living room because the house was so small. Then, once we moved to Kansas, the first house we bought in Kansas, it was a 1 garage, 1 bathroom house also. Now, both of these had a tub shower combination, because from the time I was in 7th grade and discovered showers, I've really basically never taken anything else. Only time I've taken a bath is if I've hurt my back and I need to soak. But I prefer to take a shower. One thing I remember, though, as I got older, I liked to listen to the AM radio. And I listened to it in the bathroom. I listened to it in the bedroom. I listened to the AM radio whenever and however I could. KOMA Radio was born on Christmas Eve 1922 in Oklahoma City under the call letters KFJF with only 15 watts of power. In 1945, KOMA had more power and was broadcasting the football games of University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma A&M. We all know that school as Oklahoma State today. The sports department and play-by-play announcer was a man named Kurt Gowdy. If you're familiar with sports back in the day, Kurt Gowdy is a familiar name. He was always my favorite play-by-play man in any sport he ever announced. In 1958, KOMA began a new format where they were a top 40 rock and roll station, and through the 60s and the 70s, you could hear the powerful 50,000 watt KOMA After Dark on 1520 AM. I would cruise up and down Main Street listening to KOMA, stop at a payphone like at the hotel next to the theater, and use some of my change and call KOMA and dedicate a song to the girlfriend of the week. I know I had a bunch of girlfriends and most of them didn't last very long, and I understand that was my fault. I couldn't figure girls out. I couldn't figure it out at all. Luckily for me, I found a woman later that figured me out. But I didn't know her in the day of KOMA. When I cruise up Main Street, make a U-ey, and cruise back down, singing along with I'm a Believer or Happy Together, trying to steal a kiss with the date of the week in my front seat to Groovin' or to Sir with Love, being in the car with a bunch of friends with the windows down, singing along to Windy or Come Back When You Grow Up, Girl. Cruising around, feeling solitary, listen to I Second That Emotion, feeling emboldened, and having the AM radio as loud as it'll go, listen to a different drum. It's a rite of passage to listen to KOMA. In the 60s and the 70s, you could hear that station after dark throughout the western United States. In the little town I grew up in, clear up there in the middle of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, we got it just as clear as a bell. I can only remember getting 3 radio stations back then. KOA out of Denver was an AM station you got during the day, and I spoke of this station before, how my dad would listen to Pete Smythe's General Store in the morning while he made breakfast on that news radio station. KIMN out of Denver was a top 40 rock and roll station, and it came in really pretty good during the day, but you could not pick it up at night. And even if you could, it couldn't hold a candle to KOMA. Do you remember? Yours truly, KOMA. Or how about the Kissing Tone? That was a great one. I love to call in and dedicate a song to a girl. Once in a while, you could maybe even hear yourself on the radio when you're talking to the disc jockey doing that dedication. That's why we liked that hotel next to the theater. It had a phone in the lobby, so you could sit in there and be warm in the wintertime, calling the radio station, maybe having a transistor radio with you and listening, hoping you'd hear your voice. KOMA is ingrained in my teenage years, kind of like if I had a tattoo. It will never go away, some of the memories that are associated with listening to that radio station. Well, like they say, all good things must end. And in 1980, KOMA became a country station. Then it became an FM station, and then a news station. It had to change with the times, and part of the times was changing because of the internet. In 2015, a tornado took out the 1520 AM 50,000 watt of power tower that was built in 1947. Today, KOMA 1520 AM does not exist. There is a KOMA 92.5 FM that has gone back to pop music. They do podcasts and the like. I do not know if it's even a shadow of its former self, but it is still alive. If you Google KOMA, you're likely to get things about somewhere in Japan. But the old days of 50,000 watts, cruising up and down Main Street, making a U-E and cruising back down, waving to your friends, honking at somebody coming out of the El Gran Theater, singing along with the Supremes. All those are in our rear view mirror. It touched me in a place nothing else ever touched me. And I just opened the door just to crack, just to share it with you today. Our house has 3 bathrooms. In 2 of those bathrooms, we have ADA toilets, American Disabilities Act, I believe it is. They sit higher than the regular toilets. One of the bathrooms, the little guest bathroom upstairs, has a regular little round toilet. That's my favorite toilet. It is. I'm getting so old, though, that I couldn't get up from it very easily, except it's right by the vanity, and I push myself up with my arm, and so weird, you know. I just thought I'd like the ADAs, but they sit me too high. I don't know what my youngest daughter does when she comes here. She's so short, her feet can't touch the ground. I'm sure of it. Maybe they do. Our master bathroom has 2 sinks. That's nice. Shower and a tub separate, which is nice. I never had that ever before. Our downstairs bathroom is quite large. It's as large as the master bathroom, but it does not have a tub. When we built that, I decided we didn't need a 3rd tub, so we didn't put it in. So there's a lot of room in that bathroom. But the little bath, what I call the guest bathroom, has a tub and shower combination. So I went from never having a dishwasher to having a dishwasher, barely ever having a garage to having a large 2-car garage plus a barn right next door. From 1 bathroom in all the houses I ever lived in once I left home, because my parents did build upstairs and had 2 more bathrooms up there. But every house I ever owned had 1 bathroom until this one, where we have 3. I remember bathrooms, though. I remember my grandma and grandpa's in my hometown. It had glass doorknobs. You know what I'm talking about? They were like crystal-looking glass doorknob. I remember that because they always felt a little loose. They had a keyhole for a skeleton key. That's how old the house was, probably. I remember Brother John locking himself into my Aunt Betty and Uncle Sam's house, their bathroom. Like to never got John out, and he didn't try very hard to get himself out. When Kim and I were first married, we owned a trailer in my little hometown. We bought it. Lived in there for a year and a half. It had the washer-dryer in the bathroom, and that might have been my favorite bathroom I ever had. Tub and shower combo, nothing fancy, you know, but with that washer-dryer in there. We sold that trailer house and doubled our money in about 15 months and used that money to remodel the little house we bought from Jay's grandma. Our house here, we have the 2 bathrooms upstairs and 1 bathroom downstairs. Our downstairs is all finished, but I remember this. The inspector would not give us an occupancy permit until I put a handrail going down the stairs. I argued with him saying I never use handrails. Doesn't matter, it's code, you gotta use a handrail. Well, today I'm 76 and both my wife and I hold on to that handrail like it's a life jacket on the Titanic. I'm glad that inspector stuck to his guns. I like my handrail. Always be kind. It's taking the high road in life. You'll be glad you were. Thank you for riding along today. I hope you'll join me next week. Peace out.